Out of my dream, I felt suddenly taken by an intoxication of the senses, like the prefiguration of an Eden exhausting paradise. A distant voice, drowned out by the surrounding noise, called out to me, but I couldn't recognize it. "At what time is the countdown?" "7 past midnight? In an hour or so." And as I absent-mindedly reminded myself of the inevitable reason for my presence here tonight, even though Ariane no longer wished to speak to me, I was overcome by a vertigo like a neurotic trance, obliged to stay still, and I couldn't account for the constraint that this visit to Liz's on this December night of 2012 was, outside of a total confusion of self. I left the sofa where I had found refuge, apologizing to Liz, crossing the dance floor that had spontaneously risen of the apartment from a desire of felicity, uncertain about what conduct I should have adopted, hesitant to leave the party. It seemed to me that it would have been cowardly to slip away without having spoken to Ariane, and as a blanket of snow covers the rough edges of a character, the bitter bliss of alcohol distillated in my mind an insane conviction of courage, erasing all of my fears, like the illusion that, in the end, I had nothing left to lose, and time, like an electric shock, opened up before my eyes. There are moments where a subtlety of existence seems to unveil feelings throbbing within oneself, unable to admit. A fresh perspective holding a truth of the world, as if reality appeared renewed, illuminated by a favourable disposition of the mind, like the ice shining of 1,000 colours under the sun, darkened in the shadow of the peaks, extinguished, lifeless, of a blue that would never change. I left the room, stunned with grace, almost unrecognizable, my cheeks burning, inflated by the delirium of the dance, and the intermittent and opposite vibration of the music, bombing against the floor, like the prefiguration of an earthquake. As I pressed my head brutally against the frost-covered window, I caught sight of Ariane's silhouette, sitting against the steps of the deck, shivering, legs folded under her incarnadine dress, like a virgin painted by the neck, buried in the immoderate folds of her gown, drowning in her own blood. Watching at the window, overlooking the inattentive mobility of the garden, invaded by shadows, as if Ariane's troubled figure, whose expression I could not distinguish, had been stripped of its flesh, thrown out to scavengers, like the Gothic curiosity of nature, from a backlight floating in the heart of darkness, like a nocturnal variation of a budding grove. Ariane's expression was inhabited by the shade of a decor, confused with it, giving me the sensation that her materiality was fading away, lost in the profusion of the fabric. The projection of her body against my retina appeared strange, distorted by the successive waves of the night sky, as if her limbs were displaced. I could no longer see her face, I couldn't recognize her. As I lingered, knowing it was her, unable to see her for myself, I seemed to distinguish from the fixity of her profile the visible contours of a carnivorous plant, red wound, instant transubstantiation, where she appeared like a lethal flower, oozing from venom, calling for the dead. I I was irresistibly drawn to her, her presence, renewed, wonderful, as if I had never seen her before. She turned her head towards me, imperceptibly, and without realizing it, as if I hadn't decided it yet, I suddenly found myself following in her footsteps, half hidden by the orient of the moonlight. Hey, are you okay? Why are you outside all alone? Oh, it's you. Nothing. I don't know. I feel like I wasn't welcomed. Sometimes Liz gives the impression that we're bothering her. And we had a fight earlier. Nothing important, but oh well. As if her sincere answer abandoned any attempt at concealment, I felt the certain and too rare communion of a shared truth, like a shiver of masks dropping. I smiled back, sitting down at her side, and this immaterial contact seemed to embody the mark, like the expected signal of an exchange. Concord regained after our quarrel of the afternoon, our fleeting resentments forgotten, once again as close to me as she could have ever been, but with suddenly a brighter nuance of our amity, seemingly polished, revealing a reaccomplished depth, a truer, more secret pledge of intimacy. I see what you mean. She can be hell of cold sometimes. But we should go dance. It will take your mind off things. Nobody's being sad at a party. Oh, you're in a good mood, nice, that's different. While her sarcasm was barely veiled, I didn't care for it, as the insobriety that had taken over my entire being made it feel inconsequential, out of touch from reality. I ignored the slightly mocking irony in her voice as I stood up, too quickly, blushing, and bowing ludicrously for her to come and dance with me. May I have this dance? Why not? With great pleasure. And I saw her, brushing off her dress, bending exaggeratedly like in response, smiling, amused, and grabbing the hand I just offered. Night in December, 14 years old, we were overcome by awe. And on your lips then, the cavatina scream.